There was one specific line of code, buried deep within a Soviet early warning system, that came terrifyingly close to triggering global nuclear war. It wasn't a sophisticated cyber attack or a calculated act of aggression. It was an unforeseen flaw, a digital ghost in the machine, that nearly plunged the world into an unimaginable nightmare during the most volatile years of the Cold War. In the early 1980s, the world teetered on a knife's edge. Nuclear arsenals stood poised, ready to launch at a moment's notice. Both the United States and the Soviet Union operated vast, intricate networks of satellites and ground-based radar, designed to detect an incoming missile attack with absolute certainty. The fate of humanity rested on these complex, unblinking eyes in the sky. Within the Soviet Union, one of the most critical centers was Serpukhov 15, a bunker south of Moscow, where officers monitored the Oko satellite system. Their job was simple yet terrifying: confirm a launch, and the Kremlin would retaliate. The man on duty during the early hours of September 26, 1983, was Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov. He was not a frontline soldier, but a systems analyst, a quiet engineer whose greatest battles were fought against algorithms and data streams. His shift had been uneventful, a monotonous vigil against an enemy that, hopefully, would never appear. But then, just after midnight, the unthinkable happened. The sirens shrieked. A warning light pulsed crimson, screaming, "Start." The system indicated a single intercontinental ballistic missile had been launched from the United States, heading directly for the Soviet Union. Every protocol, every drill, every ounce of training demanded immediate escalation. Petrov's subordinates braced for the next stage, their faces reflecting a dawning horror. The computer, the ultimate authority in this digital war, was unequivocal. Yet, in that heart-stopping moment, as the blare of the alarm filled the bunker, a chilling doubt began to gnaw at Petrov. Could it truly be just one missile? A first strike would surely be massive, an overwhelming barrage, not a solitary projectile. It felt wrong, almost too neat, too restrained for a global war. But what if he was wrong? What if this was the very beginning of the end? His mind raced, battling against the cold certainty of the machines. The system then flashed again, indicating a second missile. Then a third, a fourth, and finally a fifth. The red indicator now glowed: missile attack. 5 warheads were supposedly racing towards the USSR. The fate of millions hung on his next few decisions. He had less than 10 minutes to report this to his superiors, who would then decide on a counter-strike. But Petrov remembered a specific vulnerability he knew existed within the Oko system. He knew, intimately, how these complex networks could fail. The critical flaw lay in how the satellite system processed reflections of sunlight off high-altitude clouds. A single, almost insignificant line of code in the software was responsible for misinterpreting these perfectly natural phenomena as the fiery plumes of rising missiles. It was a bug, a tiny error in logic, that had been overlooked. Petrov's intuition, fueled by his deep understanding of the system's architecture, screamed that this was a false alarm. He decided not to report it. He declared the alarm to be a system malfunction. For over 20 agonizing minutes, he defied the machines, waiting for confirmation from ground radar which, thankfully, showed nothing. His decision averted what would almost certainly have been a catastrophic nuclear exchange. Had he followed protocol, the Soviet leadership would have been informed of an incoming attack, with only minutes to decide on a retaliatory strike. The world would have ended, not with a bang, but with a glitch. Petrov was initially interrogated and reprimanded for not properly documenting his actions in the logbook, a minor detail in the face of apocalypse. He was neither rewarded nor punished but quietly reassigned. The incident was kept secret for decades, a chilling testament to the fragility of global security and the immense power of a single human being to override a flawed system. Petrov's actions underscore a terrifying truth. Even the most sophisticated technology remains fallible, and the human element, for all its imperfections, can sometimes be the only thing standing between us and complete annihilation. In a world increasingly reliant on complex algorithms and automated decisions, the specter of that single line of code still haunts us, a stark reminder of how easily our carefully constructed safety nets can unravel.